Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Brothers channel, and this is my performance review of the Puma Clyde All Pro. So this shoe is a new basketball shoe from Puma Basketball. Puma has been killing it, and of course this is an upgraded version of the Puma Clyde Hardwood, which was one of my favorite shoes of last year. But it was a little too heavy. It wasn't super bulky, and the weight wasn't like a huge issue in that shoe. But if they could reduce the weight, make the shoe a little bit lighter and more minimal, then I would have liked it a little bit more. And I feel like that's kind of what they try to do here in the Puma Clyde All Pro. This shoe is going for 130 bucks, which is a pretty good price. And if you guys do want to get it, I'll leave a link in the description box. There are a lot of colorways available now. But let's get it started off with the tracciones. So for the traction, they're using a kind of like a checkered pattern. The lines are going perpendicular to each other, and there is a pivot circle here where the ball of your foot is. In the middle of the outsole, we have a Puma logo, and then here in the heel, we got some lines. And you guys can see a foam that kind of looks like Boost, which we'll get into later. The traction, they're saying is high abrasion resistant, and it kind of is, right? So I mainly played with these outdoors, and at first, like in my first impression, I was like, it doesn't seem like it's gonna be durable at all. I feel like it held its own though, like where the high wear area is, it's definitely fraying off and kind of ripping off, but not as bad as I thought it would be. Like when you feel the grooves, it feels like it's gonna rip off really easily. So I feel like it held its own. The occasional outdoor use should be fine. I don't think you should be maining this outdoors though, because I mean, it's in pretty good condition. I mean, it's in okay condition. It's definitely not the worst that I've tried. As far as the bite goes, it has an incredible bite. A really good bite on an outdoor court. Very consistent. I really never had to worry about the traction, which is very good. Also, as far as the indoor court goes, I have not tried it on the indoor court. They closed all the gyms, so I'm sorry about that. But trying it on my wood floors, it seems to have a very good bite, and also it's a little squeaky. As far as the heel to toe transition goes, it's one of my favorite parts about the shoe. So here in the heel, there's nothing special, for example, like I really like the shape in the 0.2 and the Why Not 0.3. The heel is just super curved, but in this shoe, it's not bad. There's a nice little curve here, not the most rounded shape, but there is a little bit of a rounded shape, and it definitely doesn't feel clunky, and this cushioning setup does compress, so that's a good thing. But what I really like is here in the forefoot, and it just curves up like crazy. I absolutely love this shape, and once you put a little bit of weight here into the toe, it just wants to rock, like rock forward and propel you forward, and when you're running down the court, it just feels amazing. So transferring that energy, that flow of energy from the heel to the toe, it feels very smooth, and there is a good amount of forefoot flex. Look at that. So heel to toe transition seemed very smooth. Moving on to the cushioning setup. So we have a full length Pro Foam Plus, and it actually feels pretty damn nice, right? So I had to break it in a little bit, but once I did, I could feel the Pro Foam Plus underneath my foot. Only when I was like kind of going hard. When I'm just walking around in it, I couldn't really feel it as much. But once I start, playing, I could feel the softness of the cushion underneath my foot. And here in the heel, as you guys can see, it's exposed, fully exposed, and that allows this foam to fully compress, and there is a good amount of compression. It's actually soft. There's just a little bit of bounce, but I would say it's more on the softer side of things. It's not as bouncy as like React. And impact protection for the most part was good, right? But on high impacts, it wasn't good, right? So like I said, this cushion does compress and it's soft, right? But then when I was doing like a hard impact, like a heel strike or something, I can feel the cushion bottom out and my foot kind of hit the ground a little bit. And I feel like this shoe will be better on an indoor court, because obviously indoor court, there is better impact protection because the wood does kind of like absorb some of the impact, but on an outdoor court, there's nothing. So my feet did hurt a little bit. So for the most part, impact protection is good besides on hard impacts. It's a low to the ground cushion and it feels nice. Like I said, it's soft and you have a little bit of bounce. So I like that. So it's a great cushioning setup if you want a very responsive cushion that's low to the ground and has a good amount of compression and is soft. Alright, moving on to the upper. So they're using an engineered woven upper and they're calling it the Matrix Evo Tech. And this shoe is literally one of the most minimal feeling shoes that I've pretty much felt like as of recently, you know? So if you feel this material like in hand, you're just like, holy crap, this is a very, very thin material. And then you put it on foot and it's insane, right? So it feels a little bit different from like other shoes, you know what I'm saying? So like for example, in the Puma Clyde hardwood, it has a very, very nice knit material here in the forefoot, right? It's still relatively thin, but it's just super cozy and comfortable. And that's what this shoe is not, you know what I'm saying? There's absolutely no padding in this upper, besides I guess here in the tongue and in the ankle, which we'll get into. So all you feel is a very, very thin and very, very minimal upper. So it's just a different thing. I'm not saying that's bad, I'm not saying that's good. You know, there's good things to that and there's bad things to that. Like for example, if someone steps on your foot, like my friend stepped on my foot when I was playing, it hurts. You know what I'm saying? Because there's no padding. But like I said, I love how thin and minimal this upper is. And also the tongue has a good amount of padding, which feels great. And you have a good amount of padding here in the ankle area as well. So this shoe is proportioned just how I like my shoes to be proportioned, right? So I like to have the material here in the toe box and also here in the midfoot, very, very thin. And I like to have a good amount of padding here in the tongue as well as in the ankle area. So the materials feel great. It just feels a little bit glued down, which I understand. You know, as you guys can see, if you look underneath this upper, you guys can see the underlaying material that they had to glue to this upper, which obviously they had to do because like I said, this material is super thin and of course they needed to account for durability. You know, if they didn't do that, this upper you'd probably blow through this upper. So it does feel a little glued down and a little stiff, but for the most part it feels great on foot. Alright, moving on to the fit, I went true to size and it fits my foot like a glove. So here in the toe box is pretty damn tight, and surprisingly this material didn't like stretch out all too much, probably because of the underlying material and seeing how that it's like pretty glued down. It does stretch out just a little bit, but not as much as I expected it to. So a snug fit here in the toe box, a very, very snug and tight fit width wise, right? So if you have a wide foot, I would suggest going up half a size. And as far as the length goes, I went true to size and it felt pretty good. There's just a little bit of length, probably around a couple of millimeters, but that's fine with me. So for me personally, this shoe fit me very, very well. Moving on to the support and lockdown, I had absolutely zero issues with support or lockdown. So for lateral containment, as you guys can see here in the heel, there is an internal TPU heel counter, actually a very, very stiff plastic, which is insane. I wouldn't think you would need that because you have all of this foam coming up as a sidewall, and it starts here in the heel and comes all the way here into the forefoot, as you guys can see. So all of this is acting like a sidewall, and then here in the forefoot it comes down a good amount, which kind of sucks, but it's still kind of like up there. So your foot is contained, and like I said, the material is very, very supportive. So I had no issues with lateral containment. Lateral stability was also good. You know, there's a little bit of an outrigger, I would say. This rubber outsole does protrude out here in the forefoot on the lateral side. It is a flat base and you're low to the ground, so lateral stability is good. And of course, it is a low, so you're not going to get any ankle support. Alright, moving on to the weight. In the first impressions, I believe this shoe was pretty damn light. Yeah, so 11.89 ounces, and then for the left pair, 11.99 ounces. So actually fairly light. The average weight of my shoes is around 12.5 ounces, so it's lighter than average. And that kind of surprises me. I thought it would be like 10 ounces even, you know, that just because this shoe feels so damn minimal. I don't know where that weight is coming from. Maybe the outsole, you know, as you guys can see, the outsole does extend here, kind of like all the way into the material a little bit, you know, it all wraps around here on the lateral side and on the medial side. But anyways, I cannot believe how light and minimal this shoe feels. It's one of the most minimal shoes, like I said, that I've felt in a long time. So props to the designer on that. Yeah, that's actually pretty hard to make a shoe that's very minimal and also very, very supportive, you know, and this shoe does all that very, very well. All right, moving on to the ventilation. Ventilation is pretty good, you know. there's not a whole lot of airflow because, like I said, there is an underlaying material. There's not a whole lot of actually there's no ventilation holes, and it's glued down. But you know, this material is just so thin and it kind of like wicks away the moisture, so my foot actually wasn't that hot when I was playing it. So ventilation, you should be good to go. As far as the aesthetics go, I love how the shoe looks. It looks more like a basketball shoe to me though, I guess comparing it to like the Puma Clyde hardwood. But I feel like you could rock this shoe casually, and I really like the patterns here on the upper, and it's just a clean looking shoe. So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, this is one of my favorite shoes like of this year. This is a top performer, really nice, and it's only 130 bucks, and I feel like most people will enjoy playing this, you know. If you're a big man, if you're a guard, you're gonna feel super quick. You're gonna feel very light on your feet. Cushion is good, you know, impact protection is good as well. Just watch out for really hard impacts. Traction is really good, very minimal upper, but you have padding in the shoe to where it feels comfortable as well. So overall and all around, this is a really nice shoe, and there's really nothing bad I can say about this shoe, and there's really nothing that I didn't like about this shoe. So yeah, the Puma Clyde All Pro, I 100% recommend it. And if you guys do want to cop, I'll leave a link in the description box. But that's my review. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.